and welcome back to Common Ground Podcast, where we talk about anything and everything. My name is Amy Bacon, and I'm your host, and today we are talking about doing things alone. And this is the first podcast episode that I'm filming by myself, so it felt fitting to do this by myself. First thing I wanted to touch on a little bit is the difference between being alone and being lonely, because there is a separation between the two. Being alone just means being by yourself. This is my definition, by the way. Being alone is being by yourself and being okay with doing things alone, and being lonely is wanting people to do things with, needing companionship for those activities or in your life or just kind of in general sense. And I think that I'm in a weird state of I feel lonely, but I'm also the type of person who's okay being alone. So I'm trying to figure out where I am naturally okay being by myself and where I really am missing the comfort of another person. I've always been okay with being by myself. It's just a matter of finding balance between the two. I came up with a list of 5 things that I think would be helpful for somebody who's looking to be alone. I recently got out of a long-term relationship, and so during that it's been even more of a weird phase because I had somebody to do these things with at all times whenever I wanted, and I always knew that somebody could do these things with me. So now that there's that mental aspect removed, where I know that I actually don't have the option of somebody to do these things with, it's a little bit different and it feels a little bit different. So I'm kind of pushing myself outside of my comfort zone again and getting comfortable being by myself, being alone, and enjoying being alone, because I actually love my own company and not being with anyone else. And I think I've forgotten that. My first thing to do by yourself, which seems kind of cliche, is to go to a restaurant. If you can go somewhere where you've been with other people, I honestly think that that would be the best option, because you've only had that experience surrounded by comfortability, and now pushing yourself to get into a space where you've typically only gone with people and do it by yourself, honestly, I think could be really empowering. And I did this recently, and it was very nerve-wracking, especially because I felt like everybody there knew that I was coming here by myself and that I was intentionally doing it, and had this whole thing, and I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. But really I think nobody knew. Obviously nobody knew, and nobody really pays attention. We look at everybody as if everybody is analyzing our lives at all times, and it's just not true. And getting out of that headspace where you assume that everybody is thinking about you is the first step. Just remember, your life is your life, and people are just accepting of you 99% of the time, and if they're not, then that's their problem. If they're not, it's not your problem if they have a problem with you in general. So this is a little bit of a bigger step and not obviously accessible immediately, but taking a flight by yourself. Everybody, I think, if you are into traveling, should fly by yourself at least one time in your life. Even if you're going on a trip with a group of people, take a separate flight. I know that sounds a bit outrageous, but if you can navigate an airport, go through security, answer questions, have to figure out all your boarding stuff on your own, and get to a new country, completely new destination, then get yourself from airport to destination where you're actually supposed to be, amazing. And for those of us who are anxious people, anxious travelers, anxious in general, this is a great one. And it's especially good, not even just for getting outside of your comfort zone in the sense of being by yourself, but outside of your comfort zone in period. I traveled by myself for the first time in 2023, and I got on a flight on my own, and I have never been more terrified, I think, in my life. I felt like I was gonna answer questions wrong. I felt like they were going to detain me. It was flying within Canada, by the way, and I'm Canadian. So I don't know where those thoughts were coming from, but you talk yourself up a lot. And I think in life we talk ourselves up a lot and convince ourselves of things that are just not true. And you just have to go through a series of things. You have to go through a series of experiences and prove those things wrong to yourself. You have to prove yourself wrong or right, depending on what it is, because I needed that. And then after that, traveling alone just became sort of second nature, and I traveled by myself a lot, or at least spent a lot of time in airports by myself, and it kind of flipped my perspective, and it honestly gave me a bit of sense of gave me a sense of empowerment because I felt like I could do these things on my own and I could do like grown up things. It helped me feel mature. I don't want to say like edge because that sounds a little bit cringy. It really did help me feel grown up. This next one I do a lot, and I was not able to do it for the longest time, but that is trying on clothes by yourself, because shopping or going out and like a day on the town, a day in the city, whatever, always has felt to me like a thing that needs to be done in groups, because everybody goes shopping with their friends, everybody goes out with their friends, they go to stores, they go to restaurants, they go to cafes. I convinced myself that these are things you must do with your friend, and if they're not free, well then you're staying home and you cannot do anything on the days that your friends are busy, and that is just simply not true. So I started going shopping on my own, and I know that this sounds very silly, but you know what, we're not focusing on that, because if this is something that you need, then it's something that you need. If you need to prove to yourself that you can shop on your own and try on clothes by yourself and push that little boundary that you made, it is not silly. And so I did that. I went, tried on clothes that didn't fit, by the way, and went and asked the person for a new size, or like went out and came back and got the new size. And it's these like very silly little moments where I'm like, wow, this is something I envisioned I could only do with a friend because it feels embarrassing, or like, I don't know, I don't want to take up space. A lot of it has to do with not wanting to take up space. And then it happened, and it just wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Every time I think something is going to be the end of the world, it usually isn't, and I was able to prove myself wrong, which is why I'm convinced life is just a series of doing things and proving yourself wrong, or right, as I said before. And then if you really want to feel humbled, or you want to like take on some challenge, try filming a video in public. And I don't mean just like snapping a photo, I mean like turn the camera on 0.5 and like walk down the street, or like film a street. Like, be respectful, of course, if there's people around, like use your common sense, but like that, like since I started creating content, I was like, wow, I like cannot do things in public by myself. I'm like, I need my mom to like hold my hand while I do this. We do it together, cringe, and then leave. Being cringy is okay, being embarrassing is okay, as long as you're respecting other people, it's totally fine. And like, I felt so dumb for the longest time, especially because I don't have millions of followers. I don't have like an audience who like actively is like, oh my god, what is she doing? Like, I'm just doing this because I love creating content, I love taking videos, I love editing, and like, yeah, there are people online who I connect with, and like we support each other, and that is enough. That is enough. You don't need to have 1 million followers. And so if you can convince yourself that you are allowed, you deserve to go out there and like film content and film videos. And I don't just mean this in the sense of content creation, I mean in the sense of like, you're allowed to take up space in the city, in the town you live in. Even if you're not creating content, it's just nice that you can show yourself you can do these things. And you might never have thought that taking a video would be embarrassing, but if it is embarrassing, make it not embarrassing. Does that make sense? Make things that you perceive embarrassing to be not embarrassing, because they don't have to be. Kind of my last thing that I have been doing is wearing a bold outfit on your own. It doesn't need to be like sequin dress or anything. I just mean, I typically would never wear like a going out outfit, like, you know, going out outfit. I'm not going to describe it further because we all have different definitions of going out outfits. I wouldn't wear that without my friends. And I'm like, I love these clothes and I love that, but I feel like for some reason, again, that I can't do this without like the people around me, like, you know, validating me or just giving me the confidence to go out in public in what I'm wearing. Changing the narrative, wore it anyways. And I brought a hoodie because I wasn't sure if I would like, you know, vibe with the whole situation, and I did put the hoodie on, but before I did, I wore it out, felt a little awkward, realized nobody is caring. Like, I got out of the car, my dad dropped me off, going out by myself, by the way, and I literally was like, wow, every single person on the street is staring at me right now. This whole bus stop is like, wow, what is she wearing? Oh my god, she planned this, like she's doing this, like this whole thing in her head. Yeah, I did think that, and that was when I realized that I probably had some areas that I can improve in personally, and something about getting confidence from the people that you're around is so wonderful and beautiful and empowering in friendship and in the people that you care about. but you should also be able to have it on your own. And so I kind of have been realizing that I have some areas that I can improve on, because I do feel like I need the people in my life to be around me at certain moments in time to give me what I need to feel confident. Not that it's a bad thing, but I would love to be able to do it without them as well, which is why I have been giving myself all of these micro challenges, and why I think they have been helping me, because since the sweater situation and the outfit wearing, getting out of the car feeling like the whole world is stopping and staring at me and pointing their fingers and laughing, I've worn that outfit a few times, and it's just a regular outfit now. It's just a regular outfit, and I can wear it when I want, and I love that. I know I'm not alone if people like convincing themselves of these like weird things that they can't do or they can do. So if you have to make yourself a literal list and convince yourself to get outside and like do the things, do it. Nothing is embarrassing unless you make it embarrassing. That is how I live my life. Nothing's embarrassing unless you make it embarrassing. And honestly, I feel embarrassed like 90% of the time in my life. And I just do it anyways. Because if that's the worst thing that's happening, then so be it. You could be mean. You could be mean, and that's embarrassing. Okay? So I'm glad we got to have this chat, and I hope that things made sense. The feeling of not being able to take up space and feeling embarrassed, or feeling like you need to be surrounded by people to do things and then it restricting your life, is something that I feel very passionate about. Whatever it takes to get yourself into a position where you can navigate these small challenges on your own, do it. It's totally worth it, and the investment in yourself is worth it. Anything investing in yourself is worth it. Feel comfortable in knowing that there's somebody else taking on silly challenges like wearing low-rise jeans in public. Hey, me. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. I hope that this brought you some comfort. If there's anything that you have done recently outside of your comfort zone, you should tell me in the comments, because I'd love to hear it. We will talk again next week.